Hey, what's going on, APUSH people? We have another video for you. This one is breaking down the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions, very important documents in U.S. history. So brief background, and in the 1790s, we see tensions between the Federalists and Jeffersonians, or the Democratic Republicans. They were very high. They debated over things like the power of the federal government, foreign policy, whether the U.S. should support France or Britain or remain neutral, and also things like the National Bank and Hamilton's financial plan. In 1798, we see the passage of the Alien and Sedition Acts. This was passed by Federalists and signed into law by President John Adams. And the goal of this was to silence their opponents, the Jeffersonians in particular. So Adams is basically like, Jefferson, I want you to be quiet. Stop. The alien portion increased the residency requirement for citizenship, which would make it harder for people to vote, and also allowed the president to deport foreigners. Now, the Sedition Act allowed for fines and imprisonment for criticizing government officials. Now, this is a violation of the First Amendment, but keep in mind there is no Marbury versus Madison yet, so there is no judicial review. Madison and Jefferson, they wrote resolutions in response to the Alien and Sedition Acts. And Jefferson, it's very important to note, was John Adams' vice president. So the vice president wrote a resolution criticizing a law just signed by the president. Tensions were high. And these two were really good friends, too. And then they weren't, and then they were again. Okay, so the Kentucky Resolution, it stated, therefore, the Act of Congress passed on the 14th day of July, 1798, and entitled an act, in addition to the act entitled an act for the punishment of certain crimes against the United States, as also the act passed by them on the day of June 1798, entitled an act to punish frauds committed on the Bank of the United States, and all their other acts which assume to create, define, or punish crimes other than those so enumerated in the Constitution are altogether void and have no force whatsoever. Man, you have to be a lawyer to be able to write that and to read that, but the focus here is that these acts should be altogether void and have no force whatsoever. So, time to hip it up. What is the historical circumstance of the document? Well, we have the emergence of the first party system, as we talked about, the Democratic Republicans and Federalists. We also have the Alien Sedition Acts, which the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions were written in direct response to. The intended audience is state legislatures, and the goal was to get them to nullify the acts. The point of view is very pro-states' rights because there's this belief that the state should be able to nullify these laws. And they believe that the Alien Sedition Acts were unjust. The purpose of the document is to encourage states to nullify these acts, which ultimately no state did, but it did bring about this discussion of states' rights and nullification, which would take the Civil War to answer it once and for all. All right, guys, that's it. Make sure you check out more document analysis videos, including one about John C. Calhoun, another vice president who urged legislatures to nullify a federal law. Find out what it is. You can also take a course with multiple choice and short answer questions. You name it, I got you covered. I will prepare you for this exam. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a good day.